Before continuing, I'd like to mention that before this interview, we had a request to receive information in English. So I will be speaking in French and in English.
En continuant, je voudrais mentionner for information in English regarding the proceedings of the sessions. With that in mind, we will provide information in English after having first present in French. Permettez-moi d'abord de me présenter. Mon nom est Mireille Paul.
My name is Mireille
Paul, and I have the privilege of chairing this accompagnée de ma collègue Stella.
Accompanied by my colleague Stella is accompanying me.
Good night. First, allow me to introduce myself. My name is
Permettez-moi de me reconnaître. My name is Mireille Paul, et j'ai le privilège d'être présidente de ce comité.
Émilie Bataillé et Jérémy Hagenveilleux,
we have the help of Émilie Bataillé and the
coordonnatrice de la commission.
Des analystes Amélie Bataillé, Jérémy Hagenveilleux, coordonnatrice du secrétariat, c'est Rachel Sébarin, conseillère en communication, c'est Alexandre Tanguay.
Mrs. Bataillé and Fons are not present today.
We are supported by analysts Émilie Bataillé and Jérémy Hagenveilleux, commission coordinator Rachel Sébarin, communications advisor Alexandre Tanguay, and administrative support agent France Fons. Mrs. Bataillé and Mrs. Fons are not present this evening. Tous les propos de cette deuxième partie seront enregistrés et retranscrits par Yolande Tisdale, La transcription sera
Everything mentioned in the second part will be recorded and transcribed by Yolande. The transcription will be accessible in about 1 week on the website of the BAC. For those who do not have an internet connection, they can access the digital version and all the documents in the Jean Lapierre d'Avre library.
Les transcriptions seront disponibles dans une semaine.
Internet access, it is possible to access the digital version of all documents at the Jean Lapierre Library in Havre-Maison. Nous avons tenu les 10 et 11 février dernier la première partie de l'audience publique qui permettait à toute personne de s'informer sur le projet.
So we had on the 10th and 11th February,
Today we have the second part. We allow you to express your opinion and put your comments,
getting information on the
put your
project
suggestions, your
by asking
propositions
questions.
about
So this evening we're starting the second part. The objective was to allow you to express your opinion and to give your comments and to make
qui a
comments.
permis à tout le monde d'avoir la possibilité de poser des questions. Le but, c'est de vous permettre d'exprimer vos opinions et de proposer des changements.
Les personnes qui se sont inscrites ce soir pour la
People
deuxième
who have
partie auront
registered today
15
for
minutes pour
the
résumer
Registered
leur
this
mémoire ou
evening
présenter leur
for
opinion.
the second part
Madame
will have
Lenné,
15
moi-même,
minutes
pour
to
partager
summarize
their memo,
presentation and give their opinion.
Nous avons
So
ce soir
Madame
l'horaire,
Lenny
six
and myself will be able to discuss with these people. And to get more information, more details about their point of view.
To summarize their brief or present their opinion. Mrs. Lenny and I will then be able to discuss with these individuals.
Mrs. Lenny et moi-même, nous allons avoir le temps de discuter avec ces individus. Il y aura 6 présentations qui sont déjà sur le programme.
S'inscrire pour exprimer
If people would
spontanément
like
leur
to
opinion sur le projet, elles peuvent le faire.
So those who would like to spontaneously express their opinion on the project, they can do this during this session. Those who would like to rectify some facts that were mentioned in one of the presentations of a participant, they can.
There's also the opportunity to correct.
Will be limited to correct false information, an error of a date or of a quantity, or a false reference, or an erroneous.
For example,
if somebody they will say that this room can contain 150 people, but the actual permit indicates a maximum of 60. We can rectify these errors. So we will just talk about exact facts, and we will not analyze or give our opinion.
They can do so during the sessions. This also applies to anyone wishing to make a factual correction to the facts mentioned in a participant's brief or presentation. A factual correction is limited to correcting proven inaccuracies, such as an error in date or quantity, a false reference, or an erroneous quotation. For example, if someone claims that this room can hold 150 persons, when its operating permit indicates that the maximum number of people that can be admitted is 60, this fact can be corrected. It is therefore a question of ruling on the accuracy or adequacy of a fact, not an analysis nor opinion. Pour les personnes qui souhaiteraient intervenir pour exprimer leur opinion spontanément ou encore rectifier un fait, vous pouvez en salle vous inscrire à la table à l'arrière.
So, for those who would like to intervene to express their opinions spontaneously or to correct a fact, you can do this in this room. So you can register in the table in the back. So for those who are online, the coordinates you can see them on the screen. And you will have 5 minutes to make your...
de cette deuxième partie de l'audience publique,
tous les mémoires, second part of the public hearing, all the presentations and the briefs, all the extra questions of the commission to the different departments and organizations,
all the briefs,
and the initiators, all the answers gained that we will receive will be put on the BAP
as well as
website.
To the proponent, and the responses received will be posted on the BAP's website. La Commission poursuivra la rédaction de son rapport à l'intention du ministre responsable de l'Environnement. Ce rapport fera état de vos préoccupations et de vos opinions, ainsi que l'analyse de la Commission sur le projet de parc éolien de Grosse-Île. Le rapport sera remis au ministre au plus tard le 9 juin prochain. Par la suite, le ministre disposera de 15 jours pour le rendre public. The Commission of Inquiry will continue writing its report for the minister responsible for the environment. This report will outline your concerns and opinions, as well as the Commission's analysis of the Grosse-Île wind farm project. The report will be submitted to the Minister no later than June 9. The Minister will then have 15 days to make it public. Parallèlement aux travaux de la Commission d'enquête du BAP, le ministère responsable de l'Environnement procède à sa propre analyse environnementale. C'est à la lumière de ces 2 rapports que le ministre fera sa recommandation au Conseil des ministres. La décision d'autoriser ou non le projet et selon quelles conditions appartient au Conseil des ministres et non au BAP. In parallel with the work of the BAP's Inquiry Commission, the ministry responsible for the environment is conducting its own environmental analysis of the project. The minister will make his recommendation to the cabinet based on these 2 reports. The decision to authorize or not the project and under what conditions belongs to the cabinet, not to the BAP. Finalement, on va y aller en français d'abord. Finalement, nous aimerions vous rappeler l'importance de maintenir un climat serein tel que nous l'avons connu en première partie d'audience. Ainsi, aucun propos diffamatoire ou non respectueux ne sera accepté au cours de l'audience. Aucune manifestation d'approbation ou de désapprobation. Finally, I would like to remind you of the importance to maintaining a calm atmosphere as we experienced during the first part of the hearing. Therefore, no defamatory or disrespectful comments will be tolerated during the hearing, nor will any expressions or approval or disapproval. Nous allons maintenant passer à la première intervenante de la soirée. Let's now move on to the first speaker of the evening. J'appelle Madame Chevrier.
I will call Madame Chevrier.
Alors, Madame Chevrier, je vous rappelle que vous avez 15 minutes pour nous présenter votre mémoire.
Madame Chevrier, that you have 15 minutes to present your brief. And after this presentation, we will have questions for you.
Je vais essayer de m'en tenir à 15 minutes. Je ne reprendrai pas.
I will try to respect the 15 minutes.
Avec la participation dans les activités de la présente audience publique.
I'm going to have my 15 minutes and
go ahead with the continuation of my
express
participation of the activities of this public hearing.
I'm reviving a bit this
and
one.
why without repeating and restricting my concerns that I've expressed before.
And we haven't seen that the windmills, no, we haven't an idea. We needed more research and discussions from the manufacturers of the windmills in order to find a design that will be relevant to the conditions, the weather conditions of the island. The project is talking about the protection of the littoral. We are also talking about the éolien windmill. The windmill park is there are some species that are in endangered species, an evolution that will evolve in the 10, 15 years, over the years, and probably a contractual agreement will be already done deal, and the damages will be done all the way to the foundations. The project needs also the oven air should be sufficient to the to put the activities, the interpretation. We should also have the opportunity to have windmill farms. We need to have the transport, the communications. There's the difficulties of maintenance.
Je disais que c'était très important de préserver la biodiversité et l'intégrité des habitats essentiels aux oiseaux.
And I was telling that it's very important to preserve the biodiversity and integrity of the birds.
Il y a des dangers pour
there is dangers
la faune aviaire, mais
for the avian faune,
advenant le bouleversement de la perte d'intégrité de ces habitats dans cet espace naturel,
the damage over of this natural land, we have to take consideration the losses
du côté du grand étang.
Ensuite,
il y avait la question des enjeux financiers.
It was a financial issue.
Le projet, sous plusieurs aspects,
the project in different aspects is still in discussion.
N'ont pas été actualisés.
Have not been actualized. There are numbers that have not been yet brought to the public. There was also the question, the defiance of the green gas emissions.
Je reprends ce que je disais dans le mémoire.
And that's what I was saying in my brief. The éolien project, the windmill project promises to bring. They're going to be minimal, but it's unfortunate that there has not been a research about the effect of the green gas in order to make, and then placing 4 windmills in the high capacity. Also, there is also the environment constraints that can take to the effect of the production of green gas. It's going to be also necessary that taking into consideration of the electricity request by production by Hydro-Québec, the windmill project should be maybe involved in the accounting of the production of and also the green gas effect.
J'ai comme un grand commentaire et ensuite
I have a very important comment and then other
D'abord, je dis que c'est regrettable que l'option de câble sous-marin ait été mise de côté, puis récemment, on l'a dit, abolie.
I'm saying that it's unfortunate that the underwater cable was put on the side and then that was forgotten, abolished.
Et il était dit dans...
It was said.
Et à ce moment-là, ils ont déposé l'option de câble à la Régie de l'énergie.
The option of the cable was also put at the Hydro-Québec was expecting a
sur une période de 40 ans,
billion,
ce qui équivaut à une économie de 300 millions de dollars par rapport au maintien de la centrale thermique. Et le projet était estimé réalisable pour 2027. On estimait alors que l'installation de câbles aurait permis une réduction de 94% des gaz à effet de serre, des émissions de gaz à effet de serre,
94% of the gas,
et
green gas
l'éolien,
effects,
50%.
and
L'éolien
the
en
windmills,
26, et le projet
50%.
éolien de la dune du Nord,
There's also,
pas de la dune du Nord, mais de Grosse-Île, ça apparaît comme un moyen de portée bien limité dans le défi pressant
it's
de
also
réduction des gaz à effet de serre.
in the effect that
Donc,
the challenge
pour
that's in the
améliorer
effect
le
of the
projet,
green
je suggère
gases
de
in
lui
order
appliquer une cure de
to improve the
responsabilité
project.
écologique et de
I
risque.
suggest more
Ainsi,
ecological
pour de
responsibility.
multiples
Thus,
raisons
for
environnementales, je
multiple
suggère que le
environmental
projet éolien
reasons,
de Grosse-Île
I
renonce
suggest
définitivement à
that
implanter
we
des
renounce
éoliennes dans la
that
zone du Grand
they
Étang et des petits
denounce
étangs.
definitively
Actuellement,
to
c'est
put
les sites envisagés
windmills
pour
in
des
the zones of the
éoliennes
Grand
numéro
Étang.
6 et 7.
That's number
Et
six.
je
Now,
suggère
for the
aussi
moment,
que le
it's 6 or
système d'alerte
7
en cas de
windmills,
brume soit
and also
installé
that the
à titre
alerts would
expérimental sur
be
les 2
installed
éoliennes qui sont
in
déjà en
the
fonction, et
way
ce, maintenant.
experimenting method on the
Parce
emollients
que,
that's working.
c'est ça. Deuxièmement, dans le contexte des aléas côtiers, érosion, submersion face au changement climatique, et prenant appui sur les expériences de
And we're
protection
basing
littorale menées à ce
ourselves
jour,
on
particulièrement à
the
Havre-Basse et les pointes
experiences
loups,
we have been taking into
lesquelles se soldent
consideration,
par des besoins répétés, sans
which
fin,
are
de travaux
also
majeurs,
by the
coûteux,
needs,
contraires à la dynamique
repetitive
naturelle du
needs
secteur,
that are
et ce,
continuously happening,
pour les autorités
and
gouvernementales,
thus for the
concernant la
government
recharge, les plages,
authorities.
etc. Donc là-dessus, je suggère, par
Thus, I
réalisme, précaution,
suggest to be
efficacité
realist,
économique et avec
we have to be
une certaine vision
effective,
d'avenir, que
economical
seule une éolienne,
effectiveness,
peut-être 2
to
au
put
maximum,
one or two
ne soit
windmills
implantée dans ce secteur, et
that
ce,
be
avec toutes les
placed
mesures de
in those
protection que
areas
celle-ci
with
requiert,
all the
notamment
protection
un système d'alerte en cas de
necessary,
gaz,
especially with the
si ça
alert
fonctionne,
system,
et une rétention des
and
sables.
then the retention of the
Ensuite,
sand.
considérant que le projet se situe dans des terres publiques et privées,
Taking
et que
into
toutes celles-ci font
consideration
partie du
that
territoire de la
everything's on
municipalité de
public land,
Grosse-Île, je suggère que la
I
répartition des
suggest
revenus générés
that
par la vente de
the
l'énergie éolienne
returns
provenant des parcs
coming
communautaires de
from
l'Alliance de l'énergie de
the
l'Est,
windmills
ainsi que
should
par les
be,
paiements fixes et les
and
baux
by
de
the
location,
payments
soient
done,
revus de manière à ce que
fixed
la
payments
municipalité de
should be
Grosse-Île soit
reviewed
bénéficiaire de montants
to
reflétant davantage les risques encourus sur son territoire au cours des années d'exploitation du projet éolien de Grosse-Île.
So it's better reflecting
Et
the
puisqu'il fallait
risks
donner une
down the
certaine
land
position,
during the
en matière de
operation years of the
il est
wind
généralement de
project
bonnes
of the
pratiques avant de
Grosse-Île.
prendre des décisions de se poser
And
deux
then we had
questions.
to give a
Est-ce
certain
que ce
position
projet est
in terms of
faisable? Et
perspective. And
deuxièmement, est-ce
generally,
que ce
are
projet
these good
est
practices? So
Dans le
we had to
cas qui
answer
nous
two
concerne,
questions. Is
j'estime
this
que
project
l'initiateur
feasible?
fait
And secondly,
tout
is it
son possible
something that
pour
we
rendre
desire?
techniquement faisable
So in
l'implantation
terms
d'éoliennes.
of what concerns us,
Toutefois,
I'm
plusieurs des
estimating
emplacements
that
choisis
the
sont
initiator
inadéquats du point de vue des
could see
responsabilités relatives à
whether
la
everything
conservation
was
de la
technically
biodiversité
feasible for
et
the
au maintien de
implantation of this wind farm.
l'intégrité des habitats naturels de
Anyways,
grande valeur. Et
many of
majorité
the
des emplacements
chosen
choisis,
locations
l'État
were
prévoit, tout au long de
inadequate
l'entente
from the point of
contractuelle, de
view
façon
of
récurrente,
relative
ou en état
responsibilities of
d'urgence,
the
l'ajout de
conservation
mesures de
of the
protection des
biodiversity
infrastructures et des services.
and
De mon
also
point de vue,
maintaining
seule
the integrity of
deux
natural
éoliennes
habitats that
peut-être
are
faisables.
very valuable.
Et
The majority
s'il y
of
avait quelque chose
chosen
là-dedans qui est faisable, est-ce que c'est souhaitable?
locations.
J'estime que l'implantation d'éoliennes, c'est souhaitable aux Îles-de-la-Madeleine. Mais l'implantation
So we
d'une
have to
ou
see
de
this in
deux
the
éoliennes dans le
contractual
secteur au nord de
agreement
l'île
in a
de
recurrent fashion.
contient
So
des
in an
risques dans la
emergency,
c'est comme pas
adding
souhaitable, mais c'est
protection
peut-être
measures for these infrastructures
justifiable
and for these
pour la
services,
réduction
from my
d'émissions
point
de
of view.
gaz à effet de serre à la centrale thermique du Cap-aux-Meules. En conclusion,
Either only one or two
les pièces
wind
manquantes à l'étude et autres informations sont soumises et qu'elles sont
one
acceptables
wind
du point de vue
farms
environnemental,
actually
je considère
would
que le
be
projet peut aller de l'avant s'il est réduit à une ou deux éoliennes et s'il s'est implanté dans le secteur
so
nord de la mine.
basically we would like to, when we're looking at the risks and the length, we don't wish for this. Maybe it's justifiable in terms of reducing greenhouse gases emissions at the thermal central of Cap-au-Mer. But in conclusion,
de sites potentiels
if
pour
the
l'implantation d'éoliennes dans l'archipel,
missing
incluant des
pieces
scénarios avec des éoliennes de diverses
of the study
capacités, des
and other
éoliennes
information
en lagune
are
ou en
submitted
mer,
that are acceptable from the point of view, from the environmental point of view, I consider that the project could go forward if it's reduced to one or two. And then we have to look at there are a lot of uncertainties regarding climate change on the insular territory, especially during the dune sections. When we're looking at the energy transition that's necessary, I would like to add that various studies are relevant. We should have a scientific analysis of the potential sites for placing these
des interventions qui ont été menées jusqu'ici sur les
so
plages
when
et
we're
les
looking
ordinaires,
also at
et de discuter des perspectives de conservation de ces milieux.
The Centre de recherche sur le milieu insulaire et maritime, we should define and put a program in action for energy sobriety, if you will. So again, with the university and with the various governmental actors that are concerned by this coastal protection. And we're looking at the interventions that we had on the beaches thus far. We would like to discuss the perspectives of the conservation of this area on the long term. And I would like to also mention, it might be interesting to invite a university to verify the feasibility that would be autonomous of this electrical energy. A big electricity consumer as the salt mine itself. So in terms of the hydroelectric, when the
Je me dis qu'avec sagesse, on pourrait réduire nos ambitions de consommateurs d'énergie électrique.
When the power plant, hydroelectric power plant was... As we imagined it in the 1970s, the interpreter did not understand. The president of the SOCM, Mr. Com Carborno, as I understood, that it might be interested. But once the salt mine was installed, Mr. Carborno thought that they would put this concept in place. But in Hydro-Quebec, they decided to increase their capacity. So I think we should reduce our ambitions in terms of electric energy consumers. Okay, thank you so much for your comments, Madame Chevrier, for your question. I appreciate the light that you're shedding on this question, but I don't fully understand your suggestion. You're talking about reducing the number of wind turbines. Donc, if I understand very well, how do you put this in a balance? Well, obviously, two wind turbines, there will be a smaller footprint on the land. But when you're talking about the gains of the level of the reduction of greenhouse gases, how do you explain this? From an environmental point of view and from a future point of view. I'm trying to say that if the turbines are attacked by the climate change and the sea, we shouldn't have too much in the decor. So, I understand now. So, in terms of durability and in terms of the place. Okay, I understand. So, according to your recommendations in your brief, there were, and your second and your first comment on the various scenarios, I think that at the level of the archipelago, we were looking at the positioning the turbines on the land and in the sea. But in the first part of this hearing, we heard that since 2007, there has been a lot of thoughts on this. So on the islands, there's an energy development and a potential energy transition. Do you see something that's more elaborate in terms at the time that Hydro-Québec submitted 6 options? And for these particular options, the population was hoping for the cable.
on n'a pas encore associé la
for sure,
population
I'm considering that this fighting against
on
climate
se devrait
change and against these
réduire
green gas
notre
emissions,
consommation
it's also a
d'énergie
responsibility
fossile.
of the citizens in a certain way.
Hydro-Québec,
And I don't think that
ils veulent bien répondre
we
à la
haven't
demande.
associated this with the population yet.
La demande est pas,
But we should.
Comment je
We
dirais
should
ça,
reduce our energy, fossil energy consumption. And
on peut voir
Hydro-Québec,
ça par,
they want to respond
simple
to
fait
the increased demand. But
si
now the demand
si
is
nos
not,
maisons sont
installées
avec du
I would say
pétrole
that
à la
if
maison,
our
c'est 2 fois
homes
moins de pétrole consommé que si ça
are
nous vient
installed
de
with
l'électricité de
oil,
la centrale.
it's 2 times
vraiment-
less
il y a
of
une
oil
discussion de fond
consumed
qui est à faire.
that comes
C'est
then
dans cet
compared to
esprit-là que
electricity
je posais quelques
from
commentaires.
the
D'accord.
power
Ben, je vous
plant.
remercie beaucoup, Madame
So
Chevrier.
there's a
Merci
lot of
beaucoup.
discussion to be made on this. So it's in
On va
that
maintenant passer
mindset that
à
I
Madame
made
Kim
my
Clark.
comment. Okay, thank you so much, Madame Chevrier. Thank you so much. We're going to now allow Madame Kim Clark to speak.
Madame Clark, pendant que vous vous installez, je voudrais
Madame
souligner
Clark,
que le
while
prochain
you're
intervenant
starting,
est
I
par
would like to
téléphone.
say that the next presenter will be
Good
by
evening,
phone.
Madam President, Madam
Good
Commissioner.
evening.
Welcome back to Grosse-Île.
It's a pleasure.
Bonsoir.
Thank you for your participation in this
Alors,
very
merci
important
pour
part of
votre
the process.
participation à ce processus.
I would like to
Je
resume as
voudrais
clearly as I can my
résumer
opposition
autant
to
que
this
je peux
project.
mon
For
opposition
me,
à
there are
ce
many
projet.
issues
Pour moi, il y a
still
beaucoup
lacking.
de problèmes
Lack of
et
social
qui
acceptability,
manquent. Le
lack
manque
of direct consultation with the
d'acceptabilité
people of
sociale,
Grosse-Île who will
le
be the
manque
most
de
impacted by this.
consultation avec
The
les habitants de
inequitable
Grosse-Île qui
distribution
sont
of
le plus
benefits and
impactés par
risks,
ça,
and
et aussi
inconsistencies of explanation
l'inconsistance
of choice
des explications des
and
choix
even,
et
for the lack of a better word, illogical explanations of mitigation factors of the visual calm.
Excuse me, Mrs. Clark, we do not have any translation.
Okay.
So hold on a second. OK, c'est bon? Okay, good evening, Mrs. Clark. I'm supposed to speak English. So good evening. I'm very pleased to see you again. Ça marche.
It's working?
It's okay. Oui.
Okay, so the first question is, or my first concern is the question of social acceptability. I think it is safe to say that clearly there is no social acceptability for this project. It has not met the criteria of the definition of social acceptability. There's a lack of consultation and discussion with the citizens of Grosse-Île. I'm not talking about the municipality or the council because I'm talking about the citizens. The citizens themselves were unaware of this, or the majority, until this fall, the fall of 2025. Examining the list of archived public notices on the municipality website for 2022 and 2023, I found no notices, no public notices, they might be archived, but I didn't find them on the website, of change of zoning bylaw. The August 2022 minutes of the municipality states that the representatives of the windmill project met with the municipality in August 2022. Members of the municipality request that the maritime community initiate procedures for the zoning bylaw change. At this time, there was no consultation with the public about the windmill project before requesting the zoning change. So I don't know when the initiators met with the municipality, but they met with the municipality. The municipality went on to request the zoning bylaw. So there was already a request for zoning bylaw before citizens were aware that there was even going to be windmills. In October 2022, there was a porte ouverte session held here at the gym. I attended that session. There were very few people in attendance when I was here, but again, it was porte ouverte. It wasn't a scheduled time. And so I had a one-on-one tour of all of the whole project with the initiators. At that time, there was absolutely no mention of the land by the salt mine, none. It was going to be put up next to the two existing windmills on the Grosse-Île side. That's where the line is between the municipality of Grosse-Île and municipality of Les Îles-de-la-Madeleine, and it was supposed to be put there on that. At that time, that's what I was told. Then in December 2024, we see there, when I'm reading in December 2024, I'm seeing there's notices of bylaw changes. So this apparently began in September 2022. It only went through in December 2024. There was no referendum about this bylaw change. It was, I checked to see where it was published. It was published on the site, on the municipality site, and in the grocery store here, and in the community center. I'd like to point out that community center is opened twice a week, 2 afternoons, or 1 afternoon and 1 evening, for organized activities only. So 90 people are not going to be there. It's not a place to advertise something. And it seems as though the zoning bylaw was not in the monthly publication, from what I could see, where it was the monthly publication that was sent out to homes and to houses, from what I could see on the notice that was on the website. Mr. Leblanc mentioned that several articles were published in the local media, CFIM and the Radar. Both of those local media are in French, so people in Grosse-Île, Anglophones, majority do not listen to CFIM nor read the Radar. If they don't understand French, obviously they're not going to listen to a French radio station or pick up a French newspaper. I'm sure there are still some, but it's very few. At the December information session, there were very few members in attendance. There weren't a lot of people. But it was obvious that those of us who were in attendance were not in favor. Then in the days following the meeting, people were finding out because we were talking about it. Within a week, there was a Facebook group put up about the windmill project from citizens. That quickly climbed to 160 members. A petition opposing the wind farm a petition opposing the wind farm was drawn up very quickly, and it circulated very quickly. It gathered more than 190 signatures, which was presented to the council meeting on December 15th. We continued that petition. It now has over 200 signatures, and there are still people who wish to sign it who did not get around to sign it. When I asked for an update on the petition during the February meeting, I was told that the council had no legal obligation to act upon this, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'd like to also speak about the liaison committee of this project. There's not one resident from Grosse-Île on the liaison committee. And so we feel like as citizens, we're not being heard at all. I'd also like to address the equitable risks and benefits. On the political scene of the Magdalen Islands, Grosse-Île is like David fighting Goliath. Grosse-Île municipality has 1 vote out of 8 at the maritime community table. There are huge economic benefits from maritime community for this project. They will receive 90% of the revenue for the sale of energy. The municipality of Grosse-Île will receive 3%, according to what Mr. Jean Hubert stated in the second session. There will also be, I understand that there's the surface area rights that Communauté Maritime will receive, and then there is the, I don't remember the title, but something that Grosse-Île will receive for an amount of about $57,000 per year. So there's inequitable benefits. The risks also are inequitable. There's no risks for the other parts of the Magdalen Islands. Grosse-Île will take all of the impact. The dunes, the marsh, the ecosystem is totally at risk, not to mention our landscape, which will change forever. The well-being of citizens are at risk. To have 4 huge turbines at 1.5 kilometers from your home with rotating blades is not ideal. This, just for lack of a better word, I'm going to say the reason, the explanation for this response to the visual impact of wind turbines, I just find it's illogical. One of the experts of the initiator explained that their plan was to do a survey of the tourists and citizens after the windmills are implanted to see their opinion on visual impact. Once they're there, to me, it's too late. It's too late to do a survey once they're there. What can be done? There's an inconsistency in the reasons, inconsistent reasons of the site, for choosing the site. In Havre-Robert, the wind farm was proposed, it was proposed to put the wind farm in Havre-Robert. In 2021, it was rejected. The citizens, they did a petition, they opposed, they protested, and it was rejected. And Mr. David Richard, who sits on the liaison committee, as well as a member of the Communauté Maritime, stated when he was explaining the choice of sites, like from these minutes from their first thing, il y a des résidences un peu partout sur les centres de territoire et les gens ne voulaient pas les éoliennes directement dans leur cours, près des habitations, ni sur les collines.
Residences all over around the place of the windmills, and people did not want it around it
1.7
in their
kilometers
residences.
from the nearest houses in Grosse-Île. That's directly in our backyard.
They didn't want it more than closest than in their backyard.
Excuse me.
Ils ont aussi dit
that the citizens wish to maintain the integrity
que
of the panoramic
les citoyens veulent garder l'intégrité de la vue panoramique. Et nous aussi, nous voulons garder
Joël Arsenault, député des Îles-de-la-Madeleine,
et Joël Arsenault, who's the deputy of
la proposition n'aura jamais dû figurer parmi les pistes à explorer. Le problème n'était pas l'éolien en tant que tel, mais l'éolien à proximité des résidences dans un milieu panoramique extraordinaire comme bassin. Ça n'avait ni queue ni tête, estime le député péquiste. Okay, so it's
You have 3 minutes left.
Okay. So people are attached to their landscape, the hills, and in Bassin, we are attached to. So what I would like you to walk away with, or what I would like you to remember, is that other than our English, Irish descendants, we are just like all other Madelinos. We deserve the same consideration. We are a people strongly attached to our culture, fishing, hunting, beachcombing, picking berries, and just enjoying nature around us. These areas of beach, sea, marshes, dunes, and lands are interconnected. They are vital to the wildlife living there. They are part of our heritage, and we hope you will help us protect that.
Merci beaucoup. Madame Lenné a quelques questions pour vous.
Bonsoir. Merci beaucoup, Madame Clark, pour votre intervention. Vous avez mentionné notamment que les bénéfices financiers
Thank you very much for your intervention.
De Grosse-Île
that you mentioned that
servirait de façon disproportionnée la communauté maritime des îles par rapport à la municipalité de Grosse-Île. Est-ce que vous avez réfléchi à ce qui pourrait être une répartition plus équitable des bénéfices?
A distribution which would be more equitable based on the benefits. Je comprends how it was divided, comment c'est. Ils sont beaucoup plus grands.
So we're a smaller community, smaller
Nous sommes une
population. So I understand that we would the 3%. I can see the logic. My point was, maritime community is not going to back down from this project because they have too much to lose financially. They have a lot. That's a lot of money at stake for them financially. So. It's for us, I don't think it's a matter of being against the windmills, because as I said, when I met with them in 2022, it was supposed to be next to those places. If it was there, I don't think there would be a problem. I don't think people would be protesting like they are where it is. I mean, it's far away from homes enough there that we're not going to be seeing them visually day after day, all day long. But across from the salt mine, it's too close. It's too close to houses, which I think, so it doesn't matter if Grosse-Île, I think, gets 97%. I don't think that would matter because they are so close.
Merci. Juste une autre question concernant l'acceptabilité sociale. Donc, vous en avez parlé dans votre mémoire.
Regarding the social acceptability,
jusqu'à présent,
you mentioned that it was followed, that the social representation was mentioned as.
Selon vous, quelle autre action ou quel type d'action?
According to you, what kind of different action would be other kind of consultations can be taken
first, I
to
think they
get
need to, instead of just inviting the municipality,
au lieu d'inviter que la municipalité aux premières rencontres, ils auraient dû
our group had about 160, I shouldn't say our group, I'm just a member of the group, it's not my group, but that Facebook group gained 160 members in a week.
Ce groupe, c'était pas mon groupe, mais ils ont probablement gagné 160 membres. S'ils avaient fait plus de publicité, s'ils avaient fait plus de...
come and met the people, but be more... I don't know, more inviting and explaining the importance of this, giving a little bit more clarity of what it entails, I think that would have been an easier way. And they definitely need citizens from Grosse-Île on their liaison committee. They are open to that, they told me. I sent an email requesting or asking who was on the committee, and they said there's nobody from Grosse-Île right now. It's the same liaison, same members as from Dune du Nord, but there's no citizens from Grosse-Île. They definitely need representation from Grosse-Île.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Clark.
You're welcome.
Merci, merci bien. Nous allons maintenant passer au téléphone avec Monsieur André Lafrance.
On the phone with Mr. André Lafrance.
Monsieur Lafrance, est-ce que vous m'entendez? Et le prochain sera en visio. Mais on va commencer par Monsieur Lafrance au téléphone. Monsieur Lafrance, êtes-vous là?
Je suis présent. M'entendez-vous bien?
Oui, on vous entend très bien. On vous écoute, Monsieur Lafrance. Vous avez 15 minutes
Yes, we
pour
can
nous
hear you very
résumer
well,
votre
Mr.
mémoire.
Lafrance. You have 15
Ensuite, on aura
minutes
quelques
to
questions pour
express your brief, and then we're going to have a few questions for
D'accord,
you.
excellent.
Okay,
Écoutez,
excellent.
je me présente, je suis André Lafrance, je suis avocat de formation.
Introduce myself. I am a trained lawyer. I'm still practicing as a lawyer. I have worked with various turbine projects in Quebec, wind turbines in the Montérégie West, the project of Saint-Sacrement, the project of Saint-Valentin, and the project of Saint-Valentin and Napierville, all projects that were rejected by the public hearing
Monsieur Lafrance, avant d'entamer votre présentation avec la phrase clé, je vous simplement vous demander de parler un peu plus lentement pour permettre une meilleure traduction.
A little bit slower so we can have a better translation. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Il y a un conseiller municipal
There's a
qui a
municipal
reflété un peu ce que tout le
councillor
monde
that
pense.
has mentioned a little bit what everybody's thinking here. He's asked the question, and the question was, why did you not chosen
Et la réponse a été parce que les gens d'Havre-Aubert n'en voulaient pas.
Aube-Aubert, because the people from there did not want it. So we're telling you the same thing from the people of Grosse-Île. I've spoken to dozens of people in Grosse-Île, and the people don't want it. Regardless of the cost, regardless of the profits, people don't want it. Simply, we're going to look at my brief. We're going to go more in detail on the fundamental question that we don't often speak about in the wind turbines in Quebec. It's the governance question. Municipal authorities transform themselves as promoters. They become promoters. So they lose the common sense, and they don't have the interest of the citizens, and so that they are supposed to represent. So we're going to take an example, the East Alliance, so in the Magdalene Islands. So in this maritime community, there's a municipality that we call it Grosse-Île. Madame Claire, you mentioned it, that it has one voice on 8, so that means she does not have any veto right and no voice, really, in practice, in actuality. So it's a fundamental right in a community to be able to be represented in an equal, equitable fashion in a municipality. So we have an anachronism here in a Anglophone community. So it's never listened to, it never had a voice, and it will never have a voice. So it never has had a voice. My apologies, the interpreter apologizes. So that's why people are not interested in politics, because of this lack of equilibrium. So everything was decided externally, not from the people who are from Quebec and our system. So we had to involve municipalities and sometimes indigenous communities, and I'm talking about Saint-Cyprien de Napierville. And we're going to involve private partners, and it's an explosive mix. So there's no more possible discussions in the population. So why did we, what the Municipality Federation has thought about this amalgam is to stop citizens from speaking up. And this is even worse. I will talk about the project in Montérégie. So in Desjardins de Napierville, that was financed 25% by the Mohawk communities. And there's 7,000 inhabitants, 25% by MRC Desjardins Napierville, and has 11 municipalities and approximately 60 people. So 50% by Cogar Energy. So citizens will have no right of speaking up, really. So you know that there is a process of borrowing that's normal. We have to follow this process. So we've invented this system, and we have to reinvent it. So why are we here this evening? For no reason, because we don't have a project. Have you seen a project that was presented? I have not seen. Normally, the project that I know, I'm also always talking about the Napierville project. The costs are known. The type of wind turbine is known. Everything is known. There's no secret in this project. Even though it's not acceptable, it's known. Here, we're having public hearings on something that is unknown. So I don't know how you're going to start this, how you understand your role, but I'm wondering, how do we have a public hearings on something that does not exist in existence? Because this is what we're experiencing right now. So in terms of public consultation, Madame Clark mentioned it, we have not had any. We hid this project as much as we could, hide it from the populations for months. The elected officials did not go on streets. They were made invisible, so they did not communicate this with the population. So what is the best way for a citizen to express themselves if it's not by referendum? And not a consulting referendum, but a decisive referendum. And I would like for the Commission to retain this, the right of citizens to say no. This right is not existing in terms of wind power. this is
Comme par
an
exemple, de se marier, on peut dire non.
We should be able to say no. We should be able to say no, I don't want to get married. We should be able to say no to a certain political party, to elections. But we cannot say, we can say no to many things, but we cannot say no to a wind turbine project. So it's the government that is, playing all making the puppets play. So, what was the regulatory power of Grosse-Île in this project? Zero. There was no regulatory powers. There was no regulations either. Even the citizens cannot have their voices heard. So, public health questions have been ignored in all the public hearings. So please think about the question of... So we're going to look at whether it's wind turbines that are offshore or the ones that are on the coast. So it's the same thing as offshore. So there's something that's going to travel on 50 kilometers. So they have impacts on human health. I would like for the commission to take into consideration for the first time a serious analysis and a deep analysis of these questions, these problems that this will have on human health, and then on human health, not just the infractions, but this social division. There are people that are poor, there are people that are against. This is a social division. So we have to allow citizens of Quebec of saying no, to say yes or no. So like the referendum of 1985, citizens said no to separation. But in terms of the land heritage, we didn't speak about it. But this is part of the richness of the islands. I've spent a month and a half in the Madeleine Islands, and in an intense way. Everywhere I've gone, I met with hundreds of citizens when I had my little traveling, in the Madeleine Islands, and they are proud of the islands. It's their, what are they proud of especially? Their landscape. So developers going to destroy their landscape. It's exactly what's happening in Switzerland. In Switzerland, we're creating a landscape. Then we're creating a situation. Here we're going to destroy landscapes. So we have to think about this. So the promoter is going to think about the environmental footprint. And I heard about decarbonization and the reduction of greenhouse gases. But it's a false debate. We want the debate, regardless of the cost. That's where the question is. The question on the environmental impact, but we never proved it to us. Neither did we understand the construction of the wind turbine. Everything that we know is the construction of the site. We don't know the delocalization of the pollution. And when we accept the wind turbine, we're going to accept delocalized pollution in China, in another country. It's just a false debate. So the energy plan, a woman spoke about this as well today. The modern society like Quebec, we want to decarbonate by 99%. There's no submarine cable that is going to link the islands in the next 50 years. Madam President, Madam Commissioner, we're thinking about how to renovate the power plant. And for each megawatt that was installed, we have to think about the production. There's no electricity. Everything is going to be sold too much. So we have to, there are boats that will left China and from Germany that will come to bring their pieces here. So we assemble it here. This will destroy the landscape. And did Hydro-Quebec think about the future of Quebec? This is an operation, is privatization of the state society by giving benefare to private partners, and the municipal players are modifying the way they work in representing their citizens. In certain communities, we look at 2 kilometers. Why are certain communities it's 2 kilometers? For example, when I worked on a file in the MRC of the Haut-Saint-Laurent with all the elected officials, we placed this at 2 kilometers. The project in Saint-Sacrement went from 8 wind turbines to 1 wind turbine, and then the project was abandoned. Why? Because of the elected officials. Why? Because they said no to the wind turbines. Why is it 138 meters high? Why is it 168 and not 50 meters?
This
is the question that we have to ask. Monsieur Lefebvre, Monsieur Laflamme, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, you have 3 minutes left. I'm almost finished. In terms of social acceptability, there is none. It's obvious. And how can we accept a project that we do not know at all? It's impossible. When a municipality is not doing a referendum, not holding a referendum, it's because they don't want to have an answer. With these conclusions, this project is unacceptable. And so we don't understand this project. We do not know this project. Maybe it's going to be here. Maybe it's going to be elsewhere. Maybe it's going to be this size, this height. We know nothing. So we have someone who's going to propose something that that we have no idea about. So there's a lack of transparency from municipal authorities of Grosse-Île and of the Magdalene Islands. So this only person that's saying the truth is the representative of the islands. The federal representative of the islands.
Merci pour votre témoignage. J'aimerais revenir sur un concept que vous avez apporté, celui de scission sociale.
Of Québec.
C'est vrai que c'est un risque qu'on voit dans plusieurs communautés qui font face à un projet de développement.
So when you talk about social division, this is a risk. It's a real risk that is possible in a development project that risks being in place. In your brief, we said that this is a democratic process that is healthy. It requests that social acceptability depends on a complete information and an independent analysis and real citizenship participation. If I understood what you mean by that is a referendum, and you meant a decisional referendum. Is that what you meant? Yes, that's exactly this. So the referendum must have a decisive aspect, the right to say yes or no, and in a referendum, each party will present their positions, people who will be for and against, and that's where the information will come out. Okay, but you know the specialists that work on social acceptability, they're pretty in agreement on one concept at least, is that social acceptability is rarely rhyming with unanimity. Where are we going to trace the line? What's the result of the referendum that's going to have win one side or the other? Well, a referendum, it's 50 plus 1. So I've always known this about referendum. I participated in many referendums, Madame the President, in Quebec, at least 10, that won with success except 2. And the only way to see this is 50 plus 1, and specialists, I'm sorry, are not in the shoes of the citizens. They're not the ones who are going to be receive the impact of that project day by day. Who's going to analyze these things? The specialists that are sitting in a university chair in Harvard, or the incompetents? Finally, it's the specialists. It should be the citizens that are going to be impacted by the change. Thank you, Monsieur Lafrance, for your brief. Now we're going to go to Monsieur Louis Casado from the Association, Quebec Association of Renewable Energy Production.
Bonjour, Madame la Présidente. Est-ce que vous pouvez m'entendre?
Hello, Madame President. Can you hear me? Can you see me? For now, I hear you.
Est-ce que vous me voyez?
Oui.
Can
Là,
you see
maintenant,
me?
je vous vois.
Yes,
Monsieur
now I see
Calzado,
you.
n'oubliez pas
Mr.
de
Calzado,
ralentir le débit
don't forget to slow
parce que
down
la séance
because
est traduite
this
en
is
simultané.
interpreted
Je sais que
simultaneously.
vous avez des fois l'habitude de vous emporter un
I
peu.
know
Là, ça
that
fait
you
que,
have the habit of
allez-y
going a
mollo,
little
là, dans le
fast, so
débit.
please go
Je
slowly.
vais essayer d'aller tout doucement.
OK, on vous
Yes, I'm
écoute.
going to try
Merci
to
beaucoup.
go slowly. Okay, we're listening to you. Thank you so much.
Madame la Présidente,
Madame President,
Mesdames les commissaires, premier,
Madame
je voudrais vous
Commissioner,
remercier de m'accueillir.
first
ce
of all, I
soir
would like
afin
to
de
thank you for
pouvoir,
having welcomed
m'exprimer
me
sur le parc
today so
éolien
that
de
I
Grosse-Île.
can express myself
Je
on
voudrais
the
tout d'abord me
wind
présenter. Mon nom est
turbine
Louis
park,
Casado. Je suis le
the
président
farm
directeur général de
in
l'Association québécoise
les
de la
Grosse-Île.
production
My
d'énergie
name is
renouvelable.
Louis Casado. I am the president,
L'association est active au Québec
CEO
depuis 35 ans.
of the Association
On
québécoise de la
regroupe les
production
producteurs,
d'énergie renouvelable.
et
It's
entreprises
active
de
in
biens et
Quebec
services du
for
secteur.
35 years. We
Notre
are
mission est
representing
de favoriser
producers,
un environnement d'affaires
equipment
optimal
manufacturers,
à la
and
production
companies
indépendante
of
d'énergie
goods
renouvelable
and
et
services in the
maximiser la
sector.
contribution
So our
de
mission
chaque
is to
filière
favor
pour réaliser la transition énergétique
business
au Québec.
environment in an optimal
L'ACPER et
fashion,
ses membres ont également à cœur de
and
développer leurs projets dans un esprit
the
d'acceptabilité
production
sociale
of renewable energies independently, and to maximize the contribution of each
dans
organization,
le respect de leurs
and
valeurs
to
et de leurs priorités.
achieve the energy transition
Je
in
voudrais
Quebec.
premier m'exprimer sur le
We
contexte
want to
de
have
besoins énergétiques local.
equitable
propres aux îles de la
partnerships
Madeleine.
and that are
On n'est pas dans le
sustainable
même
with
contexte que
the
sur le réseau
welcoming
principal du
community.
Québec.
So I would like to
On parle
express
d'un
our
réseau
values and our
autonome,
priorities.
isolé, dont
I would
l'approvisionnement
like to
électrique
look
est
at the
alimenté
context of the
majoritairement
local
par la centrale
energy
thermique de Cap-aux-Mules,
needs proposed
fonctionnant au
in
mazout.
Magdalene. So
Malgré
we
l'arrivée du
have
parc
an
éolien de la
isolated
dune du Nord, qui est de 8
network
MW, la
for
production locale
electricity
d'électricité ne représente qu'environ de 10 à 15% depuis
furnishing.
2021, ce qui
So
maintient une forte dépendance au pétrole. Cette réalité a des conséquences directes.
So
De
this
mémoire,
reality
souligne que
has
le réseau des îles est le
direct
plus important réseau
consequences.
autonome de la province en
And
termes de
most important, the
population
autonomous
desservie,
networks
puissance installée
of the
et
province
aussi des
in
émissions.
the terms of
Et
the
il y a
number of
aussi un enjeu
people
d'efficacité
served.
énergétique. Produire l'électricité au mazout au Cap-aux-Mules
And
est un
also, we're
processus
going to look at
particulièrement
energy
inefficace qui dissipe
effectiveness.
environ 60%
We're
d'énergie
going to
sous
look
forme de chaleur. Plus largement, l'archipel repose
so
majoritairement sur des
60% of the
hydrocarbures
energy will
importés,
become
évalués
heat
environ à 81
on
000
the
tonnes équivalent de
archipelago.
pétrole par an.
It's
Ce qui
depending
pose à la fois un
mainly
enjeu de
on imported
d'approvisionnement et
hydrocarbons.
d'impact environnemental.
So about
La centrale thermique
81,000
des Cap-aux-Mules
tons
pèse lourd dans le bilan
of
de
oil
GES.
per year,
Et le
an
mémoire souligne
equivalent.
qu'elle représente plus de 37%
So,
des émissions de GES d'Hydro-Québec. Dans ce contexte, chaque mégawatt renouvelable local a un effet immédiat, réduire la dépendance au mazout. C'est exactement l'objectif du projet des Grosse-Île qui vise à approvisionner le réseau,
there's a lot of emissions, there's a lot of
la dépendance aux combustibles fossiles dans l'archipel.
gases,
Maintenant,
of greenhouse gases and heat. So the objective of this Grosse-Île project is to supply energy while reducing the dependence on fossil fuels on the islands. L'Alliance de l'énergie de l'Est
Ces éoliennes se trouveront en terre privée appartenant à l'entreprise
the maritime community of the islands,
et en terre publique.
We want
La superficie maximale requise est
for a total
de
investment of $80 million.
La durée de vie du projet est estimée
They
à
will
30 ans.
be on private land belonging to one of the companies. So that means selling the public land. The maximal area will be 11.3 hectares, and the project will last about 30 years. And there will be environmental benefits right away. And we will reduce 30 tons of greenhouse gas emissions per year and more than 11 million liters per year of mazout consumption. The power plant, we will have a reduction of the transportation of combustible fuels and the risks associated with this transport. So this will be a benefit economically, and they will be able to make payments to 50% will have benefits, and we will be able to redistribute it to the member communities. $22.5 million on 30 years. We will have payments firmly respected to the Grosse-Île community, which will be $7 million on 30 years, and $7 million on 30 years. Donc, 20 to 30 jobs will be created. It's a small project, but it's good for the islands and has an impact on the autonomous network. And then we will be able to increase the energy created locally. We want to concretely reduce the environmental footprint and strengthen supply security. And because of its governance and its redistribution model, there will be economic benefits. So it will develop the communities of the islands in the long term. So the association that I represent considers this project is very good for energy transition. Thank you so much, Mr. Casado. I would like to ask you questions on elements that were in your brief. In your brief, you spoke about the social acceptability of your project, which is a major priority for your promoters and members of your association. So this criteria has to be taken into account since the beginning of the project. Citing this because the communication and transparency are indispensable elements to maintain good relations with the welcoming community or the host community. Can you tell us what do you do concretely, and do you do training with your members to make sure that social acceptability is the most important in this type of project? Yes, the members that we represent understand very well that energy transition will be done with the collaboration of a host community. So working with a host community, we have to work with them, and social acceptability is developed by the communications that we're going to have with the host community. So this is why we organize meetings all throughout the planning and throughout the project, the development of the project, to give as much information as possible. Us, as an association, what we do, the producers will discuss amongst themselves during our communities and during our annual conference, and we're going to talk about all of our activities, so while they develop the project as well. So we work together as independent producers, and we inform the persons who participate to our events, and then we work with public institutions to inform the public on all the actions that we will take all throughout the deployment of the project. Thank you so much for giving us these precise answers. And I have another question, and I will refer to your brief again. And you're saying that for transparency's sake, the promoter will have follow-up committees that will give regular communications on the progress of the project in the host community. Can you give us examples in terms of how does a follow-up committee can accomplish its mission? For example, what's the ideal composition of a follow-up committee? How should it publish information with the committee that's shared with the committee? And what's the frequency of these meetings? Can you give me some elements like this so that it's effective? For each project, it's different, but for this project, the promoters have organized many meetings with the elected of this of the region. What's the project? What does it mean? How is it going to be done? And the mayor of Grosse-Île, who's part of the liaison committee, participated in these meetings to be able to understand also what it means to bring wind turbines in the host communities. And also, as I mentioned in my brief, during the operation of the project, there's going to be this continuity of information that will be given. Us as an association, it's for sure, we work with our promoters to make sure to see the work that they're doing and to do a follow-up to see if they continue to do it. Because we have to, we can't forget that to develop a new technology in a province, one bad experience could bring bad information for other projects. So we have to make sure that every project be deployed in the right way, and the host communities must receive these projects and be as informed as possible. Thank you so much for giving us more precise answers, Mr. Casado.
On va maintenant passer à
So now we're
Madame
going to go to
Julie-Anne
Madame
Burke.
Julie-Anne Burke.
Est-ce que Madame Burke est là? Oui.
Is Madame Burke here? Yes.
Bonsoir, Madame.
Good evening, Madame.
Alors, vous avez 15 minutes.
So you have 15 minutes, as everybody else.
Good evening. My name is Julianne Burke. I grew up in Grosse-Île. This is the land that raised me. It raised my family. I've walked these beaches for years, and I watched the shoreline retreat. I'm now a veterinary technician. My profession is built on a simple principle. When something vulnerable cannot speak for itself, you step forward. That is why I'm here tonight. I'm not here casually. I'm here because this decision matters. I'm not opposed to renewable energy. I do believe that climate action is necessary. But urgency does not justify poor site selection, and urgency does not excuse layered risk in fragile systems. According to the proponent's environmental impact study, wetlands represent 20.1% of the site, 20%. That is not incidental, that is not marginal. That means this project is embedded within a wetland-dominated coastal system. And here, wetlands and dune systems are not background scenery. They are protection. They absorb storm surge, they slow erosion, they stabilize our shoreline, and they protect the community. They protect more than the land. They protect the waters that sustain us. On the islands, fishing is not simply employment here. It is our heritage. It is our identity. It is generational knowledge passed from parents to children. Coastal ecosystems do not recognize administrative boundaries. What is classified as a land-based project is also part of a living coastal system. Fisheries depend on water quality, sediment stability, and intact shoreline buffers. When we speak of protection, it must include the full system, from dunes to sea. When coastal systems are weakened, the effects do not end at the shoreline. Land and sea are inseparable here. What happens to one affects the other. The resilience of our marine ecosystem is tied directly to the stability of our dunes and wetlands, and those ecosystems sustain lives, not just livelihoods. We're already on losing ground. We're already experiencing accelerated erosion. We're already seeing stronger storms, and we're already feeling climate pressure. This is not the moment to introduce additional disturbances into a fragile coastal buffer. Even if turbines are not placed directly within wetland polygons, the infrastructure such as roads, excavation, grading, soil compaction, altered drainage can change hydrology. And in a coastal system, hydrology matters deeply. When water flow is altered in wetlands, shoreline stability can be affected. And when the stability is weakened, vulnerability increases. The chain of consequences must be taken seriously. The project also identifies endangered species, migratory birds, bat species under pressure. Monitoring after installation does not erase mortality. Adaptive management reacts after impact. It does not undo ecological loss. Incremental risk in already stressed systems is not insignificant. There are also geotechnical considerations. The site lies near underground salt mining operations, and this region has already experienced sinkholes in the past. These turbines require massive foundations and long-term structural loads. Infrastructures designed to last 25 to 30 years must be evaluated against geological conditions that can evolve over decades. Long-term stability must be demonstrated clearly and independently. This is not about distrust, but it's about precaution. There are Quebec environmental laws prioritizes avoidance first, then minimization. Compensation should be a last resort. In coastal systems under erosion pressure, avoidance should carry a real weight. Renewable energy is necessary, but necessary does not mean anywhere. Necessary does not mean without limits, and necessary does not mean overlooking risk along a sensitive shoreline. Climate change threatens wetlands. That is exactly why protecting the wetlands we have is critical. As someone raised here, as someone professionally committed to protecting life, I cannot stand silent when ecological resilience is at stake. We are not talking about abstract land, we're talking about living systems, systems that protect our home, our families, and future generations. Once these systems are weakened, consequences will not wait, and they do not reverse easily, and they don't ask for permission. The signs are already visible along our shoreline. The strain on our coastal system is already measurable. This decision must not add preventable risk to an already vulnerable shoreline. Progress should not come at the cost of protection. Renewable energy should not require sacrifice in a sensible system. We have a responsibility not only to act, but to act wisely. The choices made here will shape the shoreline our children will inherit. Resilience is not built in a single decision, but it can be weakened by just one. I ask that precaution guide this decision. I ask that resilience be prioritized, and I ask that we protect what cannot be replaced. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Burke. J'ai compris de votre exposé que vous êtes
Thank you very much.
Do you understand French?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Alors, est-ce que
vous
you
êtes
understand
très
French?
par l'emplacement
Oui.
des éoliennes,
Yes.
par la menace que ça peut
I think you're very
représenter pour le trait de côte qui est déjà
by the
affecté
location
par les aléas
of the
côtiers.
windmills.
Est-ce que, selon vous, il y a d'autres endroits aux
according to
îles où on
you,
peut
is there
installer
other
un
locations
parc
on the
éolien?
islands
Compte
where
tenu
we
que
can
c'est pas le seul
put
endroit
a
où on a des
place
problèmes
a
d'érosion.
windmill farm?
For
Well,
sure,
taking
living
into
in a coastal
taking into
environment on
consideration,
an island, I do believe it's something that should be taken in consideration.
étant donné
I
que
don't study
c'est
the environmental changes that happen here, but I do believe that all of our concerns should be taken in consideration.
Est-ce que vous croyez qu'avec la documentation que l'initiateur a fournie,
do you believe that the information that the promoter has given us,
pour vous, il y a encore des lacunes
for you, are
importantes?
there any
Can you
lacks
rephrase
of
the
important
beginning? I didn't
lacks
understand exactly.
of information?
Que
Pouvez-vous
proponent table a lot of documentation. Do you think it's sufficient to take a decision, or still lacking some information?
Well, for one thing, for sure, what I believe it's lacking a lot is the effects that it may have on the marine ecosystems and the fishing as well. Also, I do not believe monitoring effects on endangered species while the windmills are there is something that we should do. I think we should believe avoidance should come first and before anything else.
Oui, vous avez dit qu'il y avait plusieurs espèces qui étaient comme sous pression. Vous avez dit under pressure. Est-ce que
several
vous croyez qu'il y a des possibilités pour ces espèces-là, s'il y avait des mesures d'atténuation en fait qui étaient prises par l'initiateur du projet, est-ce que vous pensez que ça pourrait permettre de réduire la pression sur certaines espèces, celles que vous avez en esprit?
It's hard to say exactly because the habitats of certain species can be affected indirectly as well. The wind turbines, just them spinning, can affect the migratory paths. Just the infrastructure itself, the vibrations can affect the habitats in place, the change of habitats as well. So there's many different factors to look at, not just one thing overall.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Merci, Madame Burke. On va maintenant penser à Monsieur Guy Trudeau. Et après Monsieur Trudeau, la Commission va prendre une petite pause de 10 minutes.
And then we'll have a 10-minute break.
Bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau.
Bonjour, bonsoir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Trudeau.
French, but tonight, because we are here in the Grosse-Île, I prefer to speak English.
Parce que, alors,
Je m'excuse de vous interrompre, j'ai une annonce à faire. Okay. Alors, j'ai mentionné qu'on prendrait une petite pause, mais je dis aussi que le registre est encore ouvert et qu'il sera toujours possible de s'inscrire pendant la pause pour donner son opinion spontanée.
But the registry is still open, so you can still sign up and give your opinion.
I was going to speak tonight, but I need to say something. I'm a windsurfer. Okay, I windsurf since 40 years. I'm a Canadian champion. I did travel in 15 countries. I do also live in Switzerland. My wife is from there. I did teach there. I did teach that CO2 is good for plants. And, you know, we have a neighbor, super important neighbor, Mr. Trump, President of USA. He's probably one of the most power men on earth. He came to Davos this winter, not so long ago. And he said two things, two important things at the World Economic Forum, you know. He came and he said something. He said, and you could go on internet and watch. And he said, you know, my friend in Switzerland, I have to say something. I have to tell you that the climate change, you need to make your research on it. He said it's a hoax. And then he said something else. He said, please don't go for the windmills project like you do work. And you know that in democracy, we have no democracy without information. So I'm here to ask you tonight to come back in 10 years with information. Then we will be able to take a real decision with the technology and all the information that might be there that we don't have tonight. In 2020, okay, the government told us, oh, go vaccinated, it's safe, efficient, 100%, no problem. Today we know that it's a joke. We know what happened with Epstein. We know a lot of things in common. They say, oh, that was really bad, huh? And our neighbor, he tried to send a message. He said, beware, don't go for the windmill project. So it seemed to be that if we want to be serious, we should wait. There's no emergency. There's no emergency. I'm pretty sure people here would prefer to live with a light than have electricity to watch a big screen TV. They could wait 10 years. And then in 10 years, if we say there's a real problem, then perhaps it would be smart to make a better decision. The lawyer who did talk earlier, I think it was clear that he was saying it's not It's not okay what we are doing tonight. It looked like, I don't have to repeat. Everybody saw it here. So gently, I would just ask, come back in 10 years, and then we will be able to make a better decision. I do windsurf here, and as a teacher, I did teach in Switzerland, and we did, with all the information we have there, we did put everything aside, and the conclusion was super clear. Don't go for the windmills. With the long term, you will have consequence. Not you, people who live here. People who live here will probably have a problem with the fish, with the birds, with, you know, when that thing in plastic, you know, whatever. With time, you don't see it, but it goes on the nature, and it's not good. And the cost to clean that will be a lot more than what you could save with the project. So I could talk for hours, but it was improvised. So my message was about that. So hopefully it's clear enough to understand.
Oui, tout à fait. Puis vous êtes rentré dans votre 5 minutes, mais j'aurais peut-être une petite question à vous poser.
Sorry.
To ask you, I have a quick question to ask you. You repeated several times.
Je vais juste faire une petite mise au point.
You said come back in 10 years.
Le public est là pour entendre les préoccupations du public, pas pour défendre le projet, c'est pas notre rôle. Mais
public
quelle
committee
preuve
is here
à l'intérieur de ces 10 années-là vous aimeriez qu'on vous apporte par rapport au projet, ou quelle information supplémentaire
What kind of proof would you like them to bring over the next 10 years that would benefit to bring what?
Je ne saisis pas trop bien. Qu'est-ce qu'on fait pendant 10 ans? Là?
So what? It's not clear to me. What do we do in the next 10 years?
And more information.
On peut faire.
On peut faire. I think, you know, I talk with people around on the Maggies, and I think we feel pressure. It's like, you know, you never sign a contract when they say, no, it's good, sign here. It's super small letters, but no, sign, please, you don't have time. It's our emergency, we have to, whoa. No, I'm not sure. You could talk, but for me, I don't see the emergency to do that.
OK. Je comprends bien.
Yeah.
Merci beaucoup, M. Trudeau, pour votre participation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trudeau, for your participation. We'll have a 10-minute break.
Merci.
And we're going to come back to hear other opinions. Thank you.
Alors, bonsoir tout le monde.
So, good evening again, everyone. We're going to start our work again with Madame Rosanna Taker.
Good evening.
My name is Rosanna Taker. I'm originally from Grosse-Île. I lived in Grand Entry for a few years, but I returned 5 years ago. And I care about Grosse-Île. I'm reading this off. We are very disappointed to find out that the salt mine would also benefit greatly by the windmills in terms of considerable amounts of money that they will no longer have to pay each year for the pollution. There was no mention of that when the mine representative was questioned at the last meeting. It is insulting to the residents of Grosse-Île when we see the difference between the benefits for each party, 3% versus 97%. Also, there were no studies in the marine part that would guarantee there will be no impact on the fisheries on the north side, and no compensation funds are available should the resource disappear. We're taking a big chance. A risk for all the islands, and I don't think we should be doing that. Put them up where the other ones are, if they really want to put them. We don't want them in Grosse-Île. Out of 376 voters, we were 210 that is against it. That's over half. Is that social acceptability? Anyway, I hope you will really lean towards us, because this is all we have. And we were up in 95, you know, about the sinkhole. We don't want anything like that. That's on top of a salt mine. And I'm going to tell you another little story that, because I have 15 minutes, right? In Wallaceburg, Ontario, the company Samsung was installing windmills up there. They broke through their water table and ruined their water. So the municipality tried to sue them. Doug Ford bought the company out so that you can't sue the government. We don't want that to happen to us. It's a salt mine below us. If they break through our water table, we are done, and we don't get that back. I guess that's all I have to say. I could probably think of others when I go back and sit down there. I just hope and pray that you lean towards us. We count too. They didn't want them at the other end. If they were any good, they would never allow them to come to Grosse-Île. We're English. We always get the shitty end of the stick. I'm sorry. Okay?
Okay, don't move.
Okay.
Could we ask a couple of questions?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Do you understand French?
I do, but big terms, no.
Okay, so we'll try together to understand each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. You just talk about benefit and risks. What would be a best share between to rendre le projet acceptable,
to render
make
the project acceptable?
Well,
or it's no. And
do you don't think the islands is too small for that?
I don't know.
I do. I don't think we should even have windmills at all. Okay. We have two there, and I think that's all we should have. But if we have to have them, put them up there, not where we're
okay, close to the two existing ones.
Yeah, because it's very delicate where we're living. We're on top of a salt mine, and we need our drinking water.
Okay.
There's a aqueduct up the other end of the island,
okay,
and in Grand Entry, but you can't pipe that from there. Can you imagine the cost if we'd have to go and pipe water if it didn't affect the whole island's water? That's my main concern, is the water.
The water, your main concern.
I like my well water.
Okay.
I don't want salt in it or anything into it, you know, drilling.
Okay.
And do you know that there's so much weight, that cement blocks that they put in, round cement, they will never take them out of the ground because they're in with wires and cement. We will have them all on our end of the islands. And those blades, they're toxic. You can't burn them. They're not going to take them off the islands. You see them laying all over the land, everywhere, all over the world. If they can't get rid of them, we're not going to be able to. And I don't know, it's just dangerous for our island. It's too small.
Okay, I understand. Just a minute, Stella, as-tu une question? Okay.
Stella, you have a question?
What makes you think that your table water would be affected by the project?
They're up there by the salt mine. The salt mines are going all through the land, and that's tons and tons and tons of cement on top of it. If the weight goes through, breaks through, and it goes through our water table, we're done. It could very well happen. It happened in Wallaceburg, Ontario. We don't want that to happen to us. That's the only thing we have to live with on the Magdalen Islands. We need our water. If we don't have it, we have to move off the islands. Where will we go?
Okay. Merci beaucoup, merci pour les précisions.
Thank you so much for what you mentioned regarding your concerns regarding drinking water. Now we're going to ask Mr. Calvin Keating to speak.
Good evening, Mr. Keating.
Good evening. My name's Calvin Keating.
Oh.
I was born and raised here, and I moved away for a while. So I moved back to the islands again, thought it'd be a nice place to stay. But since they're putting them windmills up, well, first of all, this meeting is a real discrimination to Grosse-Île and assault to the English people. It's supposed to be all English, not French. I was born without earmuffs and without a translator, and that's where it's going to stay. So them windmills, we don't need them. Why were they rejected in Amherst? Can you give me a straight answer? And why not put them west to Pinaloo? Go west instead of coming east. There's lots of room way up on the West Beach. And do you know the vibration radius of those windmills? Do you know how far they travel? Can I get an answer for that? The vibration may travel maybe a mile or so on land, but it travels farther underwater. You go to the diving suit and you go to the bottom of the ocean floor and take 2 wrenches and beat them together, there's a vibration and there's a sound. Do you know how far that carries out? A shark can hear that. You put them windmills there and you're going to have more dead sharks on the beaches all the way up than you ever seen. Because that's what a shark does. They follow the feel the vibration, they hear the sound, and that's how they travel. Because they'll follow that vibration and the sound right to the beach. And you can't swim up there now. So the windmills is a no. We all disagree. Don't put them in Grosse-Île. Because if you start that, you're going to see a large protest and there's going to be problems. If you guys want trouble, bring it on because we're ready. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur Keating. J'appelle maintenant
Thank you, Mr.
Glenn
Keating.
Jones.
Now I'm going to call Mr. Glenn Jones.
Ah, il est au téléphone. Ah, okay.
He's by phone?
Désolé.
Okay, no problem. I'm so
Monsieur
sorry.
Jones est au téléphone,
Mr.
alors
Jones
on va
is by
essayer de le
phone,
rejoindre.
so we're going to
Ça
try
devrait
to
pas être
call
bien.
him. It won't be too long.
Monsieur Jones, est-ce que vous êtes là?
Mr. Jones, are you there?
I know. Monsieur Jones?
Mr. Jones?
Sometimes there is a delay. Il y a un délai pour la connexion téléphonique. Ah, Monsieur Jones,
Sometimes
est-ce que
it is
vous êtes là?
Mr. Jung, you're there?
Il me semble que j'ai entendu.
Oh, Mr. Jung, can you hear me? Hello, Glenn?
Monsieur Jung, est-ce que vous...
Mr. Jung, can you...
Est-ce que vous êtes...
Hello?
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 Oui.
Can you hear me? Okay. Oh,
Oui.
good evening. Hello, everybody.
Good evening. We're listening you. On vous écoute.
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to speak
We're
in English
listening to you.
slowly for the translator. The project as currently defined can be fully and properly evaluated with thorough testing. So I'd like to raise briefly 3 issues. One is the coastal erosion risk at the project site. The first concern relates to coastal erosion. The islands are well known to be highly vulnerable to shoreline erosion, and studies such as the coastal analysis conducted by LaSalle NHC show that many coastal areas of the Îles-de-la-Madeleine are already experiencing long-term shoreline retreat and increasing storm impacts. When large infrastructure is installed close to dynamic coastal zones, it's important to fully understand how the shoreline may evolve over the coming decades. So wind turbines and their foundations are intended to remain in place for many years. And this raises a simple question. How does the project account for long-term coastal erosion risks identified in regional coastal studies, including those by LaSalle? Ensuring that infrastructure remains safe and stable in a changing coastal environment is an important part of responsible planning. And I believe in their study, if I remember off the top of my head, they talked about the measures that they have as well as with rising sea levels and more increasing severe storms, that by 2050, one of the 7 proposed turbine sites could be reached, and by 2060, the other 6 could be reached with coastal erosion. The second issue I wanted to bring up was about the turbine model. I believe it's not been finalized yet, and the environmental studies evaluate impacts such as noise, shadow flicker, visual impact. However, if the final turbine model has not yet been definitively selected, then there are going to be issues because we're going to have different impacts, because different turbine models can have different heights, rotor diameters, sound characteristics, and those differences directly affect the impacts being studied. And this leads to a very simple question. How can the environmental impacts be fully evaluated if we don't know the exact turbine model yet? Without that information, some of the impacts being analyzed today remain estimates rather than final project impacts. And the final issue I'd like to raise is some of the environmental impact assessments appear preliminary from the documents that have been submitted. Many studies have been submitted, which is appreciated, of course. However, when key technical parameters are still being finalized, some impact assessments necessarily rely on assumptions or representative values because of these preliminary studies. In that situation, certain impact evaluations may still be preliminary rather than final. In other words, the studies evaluate a project that is still evolving. So this raises a broader evaluation question. Is the commission being asked to evaluate the final project or an intermediate version whose technical details may still change depending on the data submitted? Environmental assessments are strongest when the project being evaluated is clearly defined. So in closing, I just want to simplify my remarks. First, how the project addresses long-term coastal erosion risks identified in regional coastal studies. Second, confirmation of the exact turbine model so that impacts such as noise and shadow flicker can be evaluated precisely. And third, clarification on whether the environmental impact studies represent final project conditions or preliminary modeling assumptions. Clarifying these elements would help ensure that the commission is evaluating the project with the most accurate information possible. Thank you for your attention.
Merci, Monsieur Jung.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jung, for your 3 points that you just have expressed. I would like to simply have your opinion on the last point. It's joining together point 2 and 3. It's the assessment of impacts when we do not yet have the final model with the technical characteristics very well defined. Usually when promoters are in this situation, and this is what the promoter does now, so he evaluated the worst case scenario. Do you think that this is a good method, or would you prefer to work with technical parameters that are final, so that the impact of the evaluation be lesser? I think that I've understood, but I'm not sure if I understood. Could I have the question in English, please? Oh boy.
Non, mais on va
I'm so sorry. We're going to do it.
Okay.
Most of the time, proponents use the worst-case scenario to evaluate the impact statement when they do not have the specific or the characteristic, the final characteristic of the windmills. Do you think it's a good way to proceed? That's what the proponent did.
Okay, let me just think. Using a worst case scenario, I think, can be a reasonable approach when final specifications aren't yet known. My point is simply that once the final turbine model is selected, the impacts such as noise and shadow flicker should be confirmed again using the exact turbine that will be used, that will be actually installed. So the evaluation reflects the real project. And that's the concern is, will a decision be made on something that may be the wrong turbine model, and thus people aren't getting transparent information about the true impacts?
Okay, I understand clearly. We have another question. On a une autre question.
On a une autre question. Vous dites, je vais le dire d'abord en français, que les études sont trop préliminaires.
I'm going to say it in French. You're saying that the studies are too preliminary, not only because of the turbine model, but generally speaking, the studies are too preliminary. What are the gaps that you see, apart from the fact that the model of the turbine has not yet been finally determined? Did you understand my question?
I think so. You're asking what other studies I think are missing?
Well, you said that the studies were too preliminary to make a decision, and we understood that you talked about the windmill itself, the turbine itself, but do you feel that other studies are too preliminary to make a decision?
Are there other studies that are too preliminary to make a decision?
Yes.
I would not say that the studies themselves are incomplete. My point is that some of the impact assessments depend on the final turbine characteristics, which are not finalized. Like I said, we talked about noise, shadow flicker, and visual impact, and they depend on the turbine's height, the rotor diameter, the acoustic emissions. So my question is whether those will be confirmed again once the exact turbine model will be selected and installed before the final decision is made. Because by June 9th, you send in your report to the ministry, and the ministry, I believe, has 3 weeks to make a decision. Will there be studies that will actually help define exactly what turbines are there so that we know the true realistic impacts?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the precision. Bonsoir. Merci beaucoup pour les précisions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jung. C'est maintenant la fin de notre séance, vu que nous n'avons pas d'autres participants.
This is the end of our session because we don't have any more participants. I thank everybody that expressed themselves today. I would like to invite you tomorrow at the Community Center in Cap-aux-Meules at 7 p.m. Magdalene Island time or 6 p.m. Eastern time.
It could be a little bit scary,
Good evening
we appreciate your collaboration and your participation. I invite you to tomorrow's session at Cap-aux-Meules Community Hall at 7 p.m. Atlantic time and 6 p.m. Eastern time. Have a good evening and a safe trip back home. Thank you very much, everybody.